Sprouting in the Dark, Chapter 7, One's Angelic Aspect. Welcome. In the process of becoming who I presently am, my greater being has kept my outer awareness grounded into my body. This is part of my story. No matter how I attempt to explore other paths of awarenesses, or develop the inner senses, all has come to naught. My alignment, which said goodbye at age 5, seldom speaks to me except through indirect reflections in the outer world, which I have to perceive through my physical body. So, for the past 68 years, I've spent most of my waking hours learning to make do with what I had, an outer physical body. The awarenesses of other bodies and other levels of identification came as a result of what energy patterns I could sense while grounded in my physical being. With very few exceptions, less than the fingers on one hand, I have sustained in the dark. Besides the outer senses and outer life, I had a strong drive to learn. And for years I collected experiences one after the other. This led me simultaneously to teaching young children and reading esoteric literature and meditating. I could understand the literature, but no inner sight was forthcoming. So what is this talk about angels, beings of light? I had an imagination, but couldn't see it. Concepts either rang true or they didn't. In any case, I was always looking on the outer for what I was reading about inner. Eventually, I discovered that I could get a yes or no signal through my imagination if I protected an imagined light source and sounded tones in my physical body. For me, it was necessary to hold something in my hand and allow tones that corresponded to the love, the light, and the will of the object to be sounded by my outer physical body, which for me was the correspondence for the outer object. A wave motion would make itself known but not perceivable. A sort of energy response, I guess. Apparently, there is a connection between my imagination and sounds in my body. Now, I'm pretty sure it is angelic, but at the time, I didn't know what to think. I was allowed to get a vague movement that indicated a yes or a no answer. Over time, I realized that whatever I was contacting had more integrity than any human aspect I had access to. I didn't tell anybody about this primitive contact system because it was too vague. And in years to come, with this very limited system, I also learned to call these essences and use the resonance in my body to set about doing what was important to me, which was setting up purification. Through a group of esoteric friends who did have different types of inner sight, I learned there were different geometric configurations for different bodies and their composites, the centers within each of the bodies. I pulled what they told me into diagrams and found that I could purify and protect these imagined centers in different bodies to keep myself out of pain. In other words, when I got a pain someplace, if I went to that center and experimented around, I could find what was being attacked or what was being needed purifying. In any case, eventually I also learned that these centers also had correspondences on different levels of identification and density, such as my daily physical life to finer and finer correspondences on the levels of humanity, planetary, etc. By tuning to the feedback my body gave me when I placed my identification there, I learned to connect the dots between the inner and the outer. And as I purified whatever using a variety of filters, I could learn about it. It wasn't inner sight, but at least it was a type of communication.